Someone has to tell me, why is this guy always in the doghouse with the online hall monitors of righteousness? It is a phenomenon that truly fascinates me, that every couple years, Matt Damon, one of the most likable guys in Hollywood with impeccable liberal credentials, is again flailing around in cancel culture quicksand. There are too many people in this country who are motivated not by what they really believe, but by what will get Twitter to react to them with likes and retweets. That's called bad faith. It's why every couple of years I'm reading headlines like USA Today, I wish I could cancel Matt Damon. Washington Post, Matt Damon has more Damon-splaining to do. Daily Beast, shut up, Matt Damon. Vox, Matt Damon isn't a terrible person, he's just ignorant.
Matt Damon has become one of cancel culture go-to targets, always one step away from backlash over the smallest mistake. Hear the irony. Damon is a liberal who openly backs progressive causes. But does that matter to the cancel mob? Not at all. Once they set their sights on you, they don't stop until you're torn down. Enter Bill Maher, the outspoken anti-woke critic. Maher doesn't just stand up or Damon, he slices through woke attacks with ease. Buckle up. If this already sounds familiar, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because by the end of this, you'll definitely have something to say.
It's not always meant as a slur, but it's wrong, yes, of course. And Damon owned up, saying that while coming of age in Boston in the 70s and 80s, that word was thrown around without any thought put into it. And now he's put some thought into it, and he's going to stop using it. One might say he became woke. Okay, he was late to the party, to which we could say, welcome, glad you could make it. Or we could say, you came later than I did.
Maher begins by setting the stage with sharp precision. Matt Damon, without any prompting or public pressure, made a personal decision to stop using a derogatory term historically used to mock gay people. There was no campaign, no outrage mob, just a quiet, private choice. You'd think that might earn him some credit from the woke crowd, maybe even a brief nod of approval. Wrong. Instead, the perpetually offended managed to find a reason to be upset anyway. Damon's attempt to be more thoughtful still wasn't enough, because for this crowd, it never is. Maher zeroes in on that absurdity, showing how even good faith actions are treated like offenses if they don't follow the approved script. What makes the backlash so striking is how clearly it proves Maher's larger point. For the outrage machine, intent doesn't matter, growth doesn't matter, and apologies don't matter. The response to Damon's harmless self-correction is so extreme and so irrational that it genuinely leaves you stunned.
There are too many people in this country who are motivated not by what they really believe, but by what will get Twitter to react to them with likes and retweets. That's called bad faith. It's why every couple of years I'm reading headlines like USA Today, I wish I could cancel Matt Damon. Washington Post, Matt Damon has more Damon-splaining to do. Daily Beast, shut up, Matt Damon. Vox, Matt Damon isn't a terrible person, he's just ignorant. Really? That bad, is he? We're talking about Matt Damon? I don't know, he's got a clean water charity and delivers food to Haiti. What have you done, Vox headline writer?
Exactly. Many of the people behind these headlines don't even believe what they're writing, much less stand by it. Their loyalty isn't to truth, nuance, or context, it to clicks, likes, and comment numbers. Outrage sells, while calm reality doesn't. Anything that triggers anger, tribal instincts, or emotional reactions is what they're chasing. That's the business model. And that's exactly why you almost never hear about the good Matt Damon has done, not just in the US, but across the globe. Positive stories don't trend. Quiet generosity doesn't go viral. There's no algorithmic payoff for balance or fairness. Media outlets know that praising Damon won't generate engagement the way tearing him down will. So they manufacture controversy, blow harmless moments into scandals, and keep feeding the outrage machine. In this environment, decency isn't newsworthy, but being labeled problematic is. Once you see that, the entire media circus suddenly makes sense.
And yet he is always getting pulled over by the woke police for something. He's got a woke rap sheet as long as your arm. On the reboot of the Project Greenlight series, he was booked on obstruction of social justice for maintaining that a director should be chosen on merit first. But merit first is not synonymous with racism. Thinking that it is, that's kind of racist.
Honestly, this never should have been controversial to begin with. Choosing directors, producers, cast, and crew based on merit isn't some extreme or new concept at how the film industry has always functioned. Talent, experience, and creative vision are what make great movies, not box-checking exercises. Matt Damon didn't grandstand or issue some sweeping declaration. He simply stated what has long been common sense. The best person should get the job because that's what serves the film and the audience. But common sense doesn't last long in today's outrage culture. The moment the woke crowd heard Damon say this out loud, they bristled. What was meant as a practical observation about industry standards was twisted into something darker. Suddenly, Damon was labeled problematic for stating the obvious. In that world, even prioritizing quality over politics becomes a cancelable offense.
2015, Damon did hard time in Twitter jail on 2 counts of accessory to homophobia for saying that actors do well when they keep their private lives private so that audiences can watch the character on the screen without thinking about the caricature from the tabloids, and that includes your sexuality. Which is true. One of the reasons I love Daniel Day-Lewis is I'm not sure he even exists off-screen. But in Wokeville, somehow that became gay actors should go back in the closet, which is not what he said. But the verdict was in, and he was sentenced to appear on Ellen.
I've said this many times on this channel already. Actors should keep their personal lives private, because the moment that curtain is pulled back, problems usually follow. Once what we see or hear doesn't match the image we've created in our minds, perceptions start to change. Expectations collapse, and suddenly the actor is viewed through a completely different lens. That human nature. It happens to all of us, no matter how open-minded or fair we believe we are. That's exactly the point Matt was making. His argument wasn't about exclusion or intolerance, it was about maintaining a healthy separation between the work and the person behind it. But predictably, the woke crowd rushed in and twisted his words. A simple, practical point about privacy was recast as something far uglier. Matt's call for discretion had nothing to do with homophobia. Yet in today's outrage culture, nuance gets ignored and intent no longer matters.
But here's how unhomophobic Matt Damon is. He f***ed Liberace. "2016, the movie The Great Wall opened, and Damon was brought up on charges of whitewashing in the 3rd degree. Whitewashing being when filmmakers cast white actors for parts meant for people of color, which is exactly what he was not doing. His role was never meant for a Chinese actor. In fact, it was a Chinese-made movie targeted primarily to the Chinese audience that was purposefully using his white ass so the movie would have crossover appeal here. Nevertheless, when I heard about this, I immediately replaced Matt's poster over my bed with Chris Evans.
It really feels like the woke crowd has a personal grudge against Matt Damon, because no matter what he does, they always find a reason to attack it. If he speaks up, he labeled problematic. If he stays silent, he accused of being complicit. Bill Maher captured this perfectly by revisiting the backlash over the Great Wall. By any reasonable definition, the film was a Chinese production financed by Chinese studios, rooted in Chinese history and mythology, and made primarily for a Chinese audience. Casting Damon wasn't some sinister attempt at whitewashing. It was a straightforward business move. The producers wanted a globally recognizable, bankable American star to help the film succeed internationally. That's how Hollywood and global cinema have always operated. Maher's point was simple but devastating: cultural collaboration is not cultural erasure. Yet the outrage machine twisted a routine industry practice into a moral scandal, proving once again that context never matters when outrage is the goal.
2017, in the early days of the Me Too movement, Damon was locked up in Alcatraz on a charge of aggravated mansplaining during a reckoning and was sentenced to not less than 1 year of having to shut the f*** up. See, what happened was, during an interview where Damon called the Me Too movement wonderful and a watershed moment, he added that sexual misconduct involved a spectrum of behavior and that there was a difference between patting someone on the butt and rape. True, undeniable, and unforgivable. Even though the legal system has always differentiated degrees for crimes, even murder. Oh, Matt, always getting in trouble for saying perfectly reasonable things.
I don't blame Matt Damon at all. The woke crowd operates with nonstop intensity. It doesn't matter whether the target is an ally or an opponent. Once they lock on, the attack is inevitable. What Matt said was calm, reasonable, and rooted in reality. But reason has never been enough for outrage culture. They weren't looking for nuance or thoughtful conversation. They wanted total compliance. They wanted Damon to join their fury and loudly denounce every accused figure of the Me Too movement with absolute certainty, no hesitation, and no context. Anything less was treated as betrayal. Maher points this out perfectly. In the mob's eyes, restraint equals guilt, and balance equals complicity. Damon's refusal to turn complex situations into simplistic moral theater put a target on his back. Acknowledging wrongdoing where it existed wasn't enough. He was expected to perform outrage on demand. And when he didn't, the mob did what it always does: it turned on him.
And now he's done it again by breaking Liam's law. Yes, that's the law that refers to the time a few years back when actor Liam Neeson recounted a story of personal growth involving racist thoughts he had as a young man, but then realizing the error of his ways, expunging the racist element from his anger. But of course, in so doing, he committed the cardinal sin of admitting he was not born perfect and did not emerge from the womb completely enlightened like Buddha. And now Matt's done it with his gay slur admission, committed the crime of not always being the person you would become.
And that the bleak reality of the woke crowd. They expect people to arrive in the world flawless, as if growth, mistakes, and learning aren't part of being human. In their worldview, there's no space for a past you're not proud of. No room for context, and no recognition of personal improvement. One slip-up, one outdated remark, and you're permanently labeled. But let's be honest, who actually meets that impossible standard? Everyone has said or done things they wish they could take back. That includes the loudest voices in the woke crowd themselves, even if they rarely admit it out loud. The difference is that most people mature, reflect, and change with time. That should matter. Yet outrage culture refuses to recognize redemption or growth. It freezes people at their worst moment, and defines them by it forever. In doing so, it doesn't encourage accountability. It breeds fear, silence, and hypocrisy.
You know, I'm so tired of bad faith arguments, and it's all we do now on both sides of our divide. 2 weeks ago, Nancy Pelosi called Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy a moron. Oh, that's not the bad faith part of the story, that's the true part. But a few days later, McCarthy was speaking to a group of Republicans and said, jokingly, but he is Kevin McCarthy, he said that if Republicans took the House in 2022, quote, "I want you to watch Nancy Pelosi hand me that gavel. It will be hard not to hit her with it." Pelosi's office called it a threat of violence. Hakeem Jeffries said violence against women is no laughing matter. And Eric Swalwell said McCarthy was a would-be assailant who must resign. Shut up.
Everyone knew Kevin McCarthy was joking when he quipped about hitting Nancy Pelosi with a gavel. It was an obvious metaphor, the kind of exaggerated political humor that's been used for decades without controversy. But that didn't stop Democrats from turning it into a full-blown spectacle. Instead of acknowledging it for what it was, a joke, they seized the opportunity and ran with it. Suddenly, it was framed as violence against women, shouted from the rooftops as if an actual punch had been thrown. Outrage flooded social media. Press conferences followed, and boycotts were threatened over a remark no reasonable person took literally. This wasn't about protecting women or condemning violence. It was political theater. The goal was to manufacture moral outrage, dominate headlines, and score points. Maher's broader critique fits perfectly here. When everything is labeled violent or offensive, words lose their meaning, and real issues get drowned out by performative outrage.
This is what bad faith is. You don't really think it was a threat of violence, or that anyone thinks such violence would be a laughing matter, or that Kevin McCarthy is a would-be assailant, any more than anyone thinks Matt Damon's a homophobe. And Matt, my advice to you, stop hunting for goodwill. You're not going to find much in this country.
In the end, this whole saga reveals the real issue: outrage has replaced reason. Whether it Matt Damon, Kevin McCarthy, or anyone else, context no longer matters, and intent is irrelevant. The woke crowd isn't interested in progress, fairness, or honest discussion. They're focused on punishment. Bill Maher's point cuts through all the noise. When perfection is demanded and growth is ignored, everyone eventually becomes a target. Jokes are treated like crimes. Nuance is labeled heresy. Common sense is deemed offensive. This culture doesn't create anything, it only tears people down. And until that changes, the outrage machine will keep consuming friend and foe alike. It doesn't matter who you are. That brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.